Okay, now we're going to show you a demonstration how the Winslow assessment system works. On your screen, you should see the dashboard. In the middle, say activated profile password. And each of you that will purchase our assessments today or during the purchase period, we will create a dashboard like this for you. You'll get an email from us with instructions on how to log into your system. And you'll notice in the upper left-hand corner, there'll be the name of your company. And we will also provide you training for yourself and or your administrators. So now let's show you how the system works. Now most of the clients that come to us, they typically come wanting to hire better people. And then they also want to improve their existing employees. So think of this as an employment funnel. You run an ad for, say, a pharmacist. You get hundreds, if not thousands, of applicants from all around the world. You want to get those people down to 2 final applicants you consider hiring. Do your drug testing, your background checks, anything you do to assess whether or not you would consider hiring them or the fact that you would offer them a job. Then have those 2 people take our assessment. Now, the assessment navigation bars are on the left-hand side. Once they take the assessment, and the assessment itself is 300 questions, takes about 45 minutes to an hour. Again, we will teach you all of that as you teach you how to use the service. But the easiest part is simply you create a password for each candidate. They go online, they take the assessment, and then the results are in your database. So, for example, let's say that the first candidate you consider is Dina Darwin. I click on her name. You'll notice on the left-hand side the green bars open up. There are actually 4 reports associated with each assessment. But for hiring practices, we're going to look at the executive report. I click on that. It's going to open up the 24 personality traits that are being measured. And this scale, a 1 to 10, 9, 10 is what's considered a high score, 1, 2 is a low score, 5, 6 is average, 7, 8 above, 3, 4 below. So the way this works, for example, under sociability, the first trait in the upper left-hand corner, we're saying compared to a North American culture, which is the database this being compared to, is saying this person will be in the top 10 to 20 percentile as far as sociability. These are the raw personality characteristics. So these are the kind of things you'd want to know about an applicant. For example, conscientiousness. Will they put the interest of the pharmacy or your business ahead of their own? Are they ambitious? Are they people that want to be, very competitive in the marketplace, people that want to exceed their goals? Very important one. Are they coachable? Will they listen to you and respect the direction you give them? Self-confidence. Number 1 trait in any career venture is self-confidence. Do they feel they can do the job? Do you want smiley, happy people, or do you want grumpy people? Contentment measures their degree of contentment and happiness. So, and other areas. Now what we do is we put on top of that the position for the job, which we call position compatibility success profile. For example, let's say that you're looking at this store manager of your pharmacy. I'm going to click on store manager. We now bring up the profile for that store manager. Now, these we've built through the last 8 to 10 years we've worked in the pharmacy industry. And the way this is designed is dark green is what's known as desirable. And I scroll down here, you'll see it. So if I was building the ideal $1 million pharmacist, I'd want them to land in dark green wherever possible. Now what the system does is going to score each one of the characteristics. So if they land in a desirable score, they get a +4. It goes down to +2 for favorable. They get a 0 for neutral, -2 for cautions, and a 5 for concerns. And then what our system does, it provides you a 1-page scoreboard. So the first thing you'd look at is the net score. In this case, it's a +41. And what that is, that's a top 24 characteristics and the score on each one of those characteristics. And you're now going to say, okay, well, what does that mean? I'm going to scroll back up, and you'll notice in the report itself, it describes what does a score mean. So when a person scores between a 0 and 15, that would say they're going to be an average performer. Now, we don't know if they went to college, if they got their pharmacology degree. What we can tell you is, assuming they have the skill set, which that you've determined if you're going to give them a job, will their personality allow them to succeed in the job? So 0 to 15, they're going to be average. 16 to 35 is a no, so above average. 36 and higher. The higher the score, the more exceptional they'll perform. So in this case, a plus 41 would indicate that they should be noticeably above average. They should be exceptional. Now, the other thing I want to point out, do you see where it says objectivity 28 out of 30? This is a validity score where we are the only assessment company in the world that I know of and Winslow Research knows of. We have control questions to determine if a person is telling the truth or if they are trying to fake their responses or trying to exaggerate. It can determine if the results are valid. If they're not valid, that score would, and you never see the score, but it would be 22 or less. And what our system would do, I'm going to click on completed profiles, and I'm going to show you another. What the system would do if a person is what we call positive bias, which means that the results are not reliable. We pop up a message on the screen, and it says something to the effect of, welcome to the 30% club, because that occurs 30% of the time across all assessments. However, we are the only one that aggressively deal with. And then we say, you've either exaggerated your strengths or underreported your weaknesses, therefore your assessment's invalid. And the system will then have them retake the assessment. There's no cost for retakes. And tell them they need to answer the questions as they truly are today, not the way they used to be, not the way they wanted it. So they may be able to sit in front of you and fake it, but our system can catch the fakers, and we will either have them retake the assessment, and we'll give you a real, true score. So let's assume that Richard Lee is applying for the same job as store manager. Put on the same job. You see the same color codes. I come down here. It scores it the same. And down at the bottom, you'll notice there's some flashing red, and the participant scores in yellow, which is a cautionary, -9. And what that means is the probability of him being successful are little to none. So now here's your choice. Do I hire Dina, who's a plus 41, or do I hire Richard, who's a -9? Now keep in mind, we said these are the final two candidates that you would consider hiring. In this case, no question. Every day I would hire Dina over Richard. And that's how you discern the better applicant. Now, you might have been leaning toward Richard. Could be, gosh, Richard's learned how to interview well. He may be taking all those courses you can find on the internet, for that matter, on LinkedIn. And I like to call them how to lie to your future employer. So let's say that we now are going to make Dina the job offer. So now what do we help you with? I'm going to click on Participants Report. So the first week on the job, or the first day on the job, you should give Dina her report. Her report in this case would be 40 pages. And this is all built into the system. All these 8 sections are hyperlinked. And I would print out her report. And I'm going to click on Personal Development. And within the report itself, and in this case on page 35, it tells her how to use her report to make sure she's using her strengths, to make sure she's going to be the best store manager you've ever had, and how to deal with the weaknesses to mitigate those concerns. So, to recap, what we do, we provide you a dashboard. We will show you and train you how to use it. You'll then use it for hiring purposes. You'll get your final 2 applicants to take the assessment. They both answer the exact same 300 questions. You compare the exact same job model, and then you hire the very best applicant. And this will reduce your turnover. It'll increase your productivity. Bottom line, it will increase your profitability.